Hello everybody, it's welcome to our podcast today. We are really privileged to have Pastor Simon from Hope KL and one of the HIM Global Elders to be with us today. Today we're going to talk about longevity in ministry. So welcome to wilsonliling.com. This is our ministry equipping website. We have podcasts on leadership, prophetic and intercession, and we trust it will be of great help to you. Well, Pastor Simon, once again, thank you for coming. It's a wonderful pleasure to have you. It's a great privilege. Just to let you know, Pastor Simon has been my mentor for many years, and he was president of HIM, and he has passed it on to me now. And so, Pastor Simon, you have been in ministry for a rather long time. Would you like to tell us a little bit how long have you been in ministry, the sort of things you have been involved in?
Yeah, thank you again for having me. It's a privilege indeed to be able to share some areas and some journeys in our life. So as for years in ministry, I think we've been in this serving God, being in ministry, I think it'll be more than 45 years.
Wow.
I started right after I graduated. Then 2 years into that, I felt the touch of God, and I got seriously into serving as a student leader, and then eventually becoming an elder in the local church in Melbourne. Yeah.
And then how did your involvement with HIM and how did that?
Oh, actually I served with our founder, the founder of Hope in Melbourne, but I didn't immediately get into Hope. We went back to Malaysia with Lai Eng, and we served for another 4 years in the local church in Kuala Lumpur, and then God moved us to Kuching, so it took another 8 years after I started before we finally got to connect with Hope again and started the journey of fulfilling the Great Commission and pioneering churches.
Amen. So, 45 years, that's amazing. That's really, wonderful that you have not only been 45 years of serving the Lord, but Pastor Simon still continues to have tremendous passion in serving the Lord. But I'm sure that in those 45 years, you would have had some challenging moments. Have you ever in all of this ever felt like maybe you considered quitting or stopping or something like this?
Yeah, I think that is something that I think almost every leader has felt at various times in their lives, and I'm no different. I have felt like quitting, and as I reflect, why I've had feelings of why I want to quit. For example, when I feel like I am not adequate enough, I didn't feel like I did a good job, or I failed, or I have felt like when I felt hurt, when people disappointed you or situations disappointed you, and there were times when I felt like there was a lot of criticism leveled at me, and I didn't know how to deal with the criticisms. I remember the time when I had someone who evaluated my leadership, and there was 2 pages of comments, and that I remember at that time I finished the evaluation with him, which took something like an hour and a half. Ooh. And I went home wanting to tell Lai Eng I'm quitting, I don't want to do it anymore. Yeah. Yeah, and I suppose we would want to know, how do you deal with it when you feel like quitting? Let me share certain aspects of what it feels like. I often feel like when I'm getting that discouragement, and I really feel like quitting, one of the core areas that I've built in my walk with God and ministry is the fact that I always go back to God, because it is God who had called me in the first place.
Yeah.
It was God who put me in the ministry in the first place. And so before I decide to quit, like in our job, we tell our boss first, right? So I would go to God, and I would kind of talk it out with God. I'm feeling this. I'm discouraged. I'm feeling real bad. And after that, I would go scripturally to think about who has been discouraged in the Bible, who felt like quitting. So I just very quickly I draw 2 quick examples. David had felt like quitting. There was a time, that incident in Ziklag, when even his people felt like stoning him, getting rid of him. And the Bible said very clearly, David found strength in God. So I think for everyone who feels like quitting, myself included, I have always gone back to God and draw strength from God again. so that God is the one that empowers me again. The second example that I can think of is Daniel. In the first few 6 chapters of Daniel, Daniel was in the kingdom of Nebuchadnezzar, a very, very tough assignment. But the Bible told us in chapter 6, Daniel found strength in prayer. He would turn to God, he would pray 3 times a day. And each time the Lord encouraged him, he found strength. So I have felt like quitting, but for every one of us, I just want to encourage that we should find strength in God, and we should talk to God directly and in prayer, and in the scriptures to be able to strengthen ourselves again.
I like what you said, because I think it's so important that God is the one that calls us. I personally, that's my own conviction as well. Since God called us or called me, He has called me out too. If He brought me in, He has to bring me out. Yeah, so I think that's really amazing.
Can I add 2 other natural process? I think for us, when we are discouraged, when we are down and we really feel like quitting, another thing to do is to talk to good friends. Talk to people whom you trust. It could be your leader, it could be your shepherd, it could be your mentor, it could be the person that is closest to you. Sometimes it's not even your spouse. I share so many quitting things with Lai Eng. It might discourage her instead. So I have found good friends. I think good people who is in your core team. Fellowship with them, talk with them, and just replenish yourself with good fellowship. And the last area would be to have a good rest. When you are down in your energy, motivation, and your whole spirit and emotions feel down, I think you just have to have a good rest. I think a good example is Elijah. And when he was super discouraged after Jezebel, God took him away, gave him a good rest, ate, slept, and woke up again. And then that's a good way of recovery as well.
I like that. I often tell people, when you're on the low, please don't make any big decisions, because often when you're on the low, you made not so good decisions.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Simon, coming back to the longevity in ministry, what to you would be some of the keys? What are some of the keys that help you being able to serve the Lord all these 45 years?
Okay. I'm reflecting back now to the start of the beginning of that ministry when I decided to serve. After I graduated from Monash University in Melbourne.
Yes.
Yes. Hooray for Monash. I tried applying for a job in Melbourne, and for 3 months, all my other friends who were in my faculty had already got their jobs, but I didn't get any at all. And at the end of 3 months, God took me to Canberra instead. I got a job, so hooray for Queanbeyan and Canberra. God took me to Queanbeyan. I got a job there, and then I stayed in Canberra. So I was driving between Queanbeyan and Canberra. But
just for our listeners who are not familiar, it's probably about 10-15 minutes drive.
About 10-15 minutes drive.
It's just connecting.
Not too far. Yeah. And that 1 year actually consolidated my longevity. Now that I reflect back after 45-50 years of serving God, that 1 year taught me some key aspects of longevity. Number one, I really got to relate with God on a really personal level. I didn't know anybody in Canberra. I didn't have any friends. I was a stranger there. But when we are isolated away from our normal friends, our people that we are familiar with, you could do good things or you could turn sour. But I took it as a year to really build myself up. So I built myself up in knowing God. So I would spend, for example, a Friday night, an evening, the whole day praying, fasting, just talking to God, and spend that whole Friday night praying and consolidating, strengthening myself in knowing God deeply. I also began to train myself by buying books since I had time, and there were not many other activities that distracted me. So I learned about signs and wonders, for example. I learned about knowing God in His power and authority. I read leadership books. So I used that time to build my skills, to build my own faith, how I could begin to be a solid Christian and in some ways a solid leader to be able to serve as well. So I built that foundation very early in my Christian living before I began serving actively.
Right.
So I think that to me was a big thing that helped me in my longevity. Even today, when I reflect back after so many years, I am still encouraged because I have this relationship with God. I'm still strengthened because it's God who strengthens me before I can strengthen others.
Yeah. So in that period, were you already married with Lai Eng, or was it?
Well, I was single and available when I went to Canberra, and we just graduated. We're like 23 years old.
Yes.
And interestingly, one of the benefit of I mentioned about solitude with God. One of the benefit of being away and spending this spiritual time with God was God gave me the impression of Lai Eng. I was in prayer and fasting, etc. A 3/4 into the year, and the picture of Lai Eng, the remembrance of Lai Eng, because we were serving in the same church in Melbourne, and I began to communicate with her, because we left and we never communicated, but after 9 months I thought, hey, that's interesting, maybe I should get in touch with Lai Eng again.
She must be wondering, what in the world is he doing talking to me now?
To tell you the joke, this is going to extend it a little bit, to tell you the joke, I even drew a card for her, I was so inspired, I drew a card, and then she showed it to her flatmates, all her, and they were like, wow, why are you receiving a card and we are not receiving anything from Simon,
So I think it's great, you shared with us about really having that relationship with God, and it's really helped you, anchor you, and all these years. Is there anything else? Is that the main thing?
I think another aspect was thinking about what I really wanted to do with my life. I was a civil engineer. I could build my whole time on how to be a super successful civil engineer, and I could have just spent all that time, but I thought about serving God. I thought about my own spiritual life with God, and I felt that I wanted to do something for God. And I think that's also a spiritual stir, that doesn't come just naturally. And because I spent time with God, because I was learning to hear God clearer, and because I was reeling deeper with God, I think God stirred my heart closer towards His purpose. So I remembered I was thinking about, so now that I've graduated, what do I really seriously want to do with my life besides the career?
So how would you put it then? Does that mean, besides your personal time and relationship with God, the second thing would you say would be like sort of sense of purpose in terms of serving God?
Absolutely. I think the sense of purpose, what you really want to do with your life, and then once you are clearer with that, then I began to think about equipping myself. So if I really want to do something about serving God, that purpose of expanding my life for God, then how would I therefore equip myself to accomplish that purpose? It's natural, right? I studied 4 years to be a civil engineer. I therefore know how to design a home, design various structural buildings, the roads and bridges, etc. So likewise in ministry, I think it's good that I felt like I really wanted to equip myself to do a good job as well, rather than just, I'm serving, and I wanted the longevity of it to really do a good job, and therefore I need to equip myself as well.
I think that's a very important point, making sure we equip ourselves. I can see how it can help towards our longevity, because if we're not well equipped, we feel a lot more stress, we feel more inadequate. There's so many things, the negative things that just adds on to potentially a stressful situations that occurs in ministry. So I think that helps tremendously. And having said all this, why do you think it's important for us to have longevity in ministry?
Well, I think if we analyze ministry, and even if we analyze the people that God have used in the Bible, it usually takes some years. First, some years for them to walk with God and be familiar with God. And then God usually calls them to serve for a lengthy period. It could be 5 years, 10 years, some 40 years, you know. So I think when we want to think about longevity in ministry, we have to think beyond 5 and 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? First, it takes time for you to even be sure and establish yourself to be equipped sufficiently. And then if we look at the Bible, usually it takes anything more than 10 years to really build a sustainable ministry, to impact people's lives, to look at building your successors, to look at the continuity of that ministry. It is absolutely 5 to more than 10 years.
Wow.
So I think longevity is definitely something that you need to key into the aspects of your ministry. You know, I just want to encourage those of you who are starting out in ministry. Maybe you feel like, oh, I'll try it out for a year, I'll try it out for 2 years. And you know, I think you need to pray seriously, ask God, so that you actually put a few years in to build people.
Yes.
You know, not only just building yourself, but to build people is anything more than at least 3 years, 5 years, you know, for them to be sustainable themselves.
Yeah. And I've discovered too, even my own, looking back my own history in serving God, I've realized that because I was willing to let God move me, it's positioned me into different experiences which actually accumulated and built up, which gave me actually a wonderful foundation for many of the things I'm doing even today. So, but if we don't have a longevity, we kind of shortcut that process and we turn to something else, and I don't know, it may not accumulate the way God may have intended for us. So, Pastor Simon, you know, we've been talking about longevity, and we're talking about how important it is to have that longevity because it, you know, the growth, the experience, the impact. What could be some of the major impacts if someone does not last in ministry?
Okay, if I reflect on myself, I think the first impact would be I would have disappointed myself. You know, it's self-disappointment. If I knew that I could have done what God had even revealed to me or commissioned me to do, and I didn't do it with longevity, I think I would have disappointed myself because I would have felt that I missed the door that God opened for me. The second area would be if you serve and then for some reasons you decide that you want to quit or you didn't want to do it anymore, the people who have followed you or who have been under your leadership, you will disappoint them. One good reason was our own son, our Poi. You know, he was in high school and he followed our student leaders, etc. And so some reason he had 2-3 shepherds that abandoned him, you know. They left church, they wanted to do something else, and that left a big hole in his own aspect of my shepherd. You know, how come my shepherd abandoned me? And the good thing of it was he decided, therefore, this is what I am not going to do to the people that are under me. And so now he's looking after them like a good shepherd of almost 100 people. So you would disappoint those who have looked to you, you know, for example, and for modeling. I think the third major impact would be you would see minimal fruits. If you didn't spend enough time, years to do it and build it, you're not going to see much fruit actually.
Yes.
Like I think, and I said earlier, it takes at least 2 to 3 years of consistent input into people's lives to be able to see some results.
And I've seen this happen in my own life. There have been people who have done things for a little while, they were over me and they just kind of gave up. And what I find is that yes, we can learn some lessons or we can challenge ourselves to not do that, but it's so much better if we have someone who continues on in longevity because we can learn so much more from them and we can get so much more inspiration from them as well. So there's a real encouragement to all of us to really persevere in what God has called you to, because your longevity and the lessons you've learned along the way to maintain your longevity will make a huge difference for others because they're watching you, they're learning from you as well. So what might be some advice you might like to give to younger leaders how they can have longevity?
Okay. I have two quick thoughts. One would be actually to really get to know God, because ministry starts with God.
Yeah.
It's not your leaders that start it for you. They may start it for you. It's not like you're inspired by a certain movie or a certain message. Even if you have received all that inspiration and that challenge for you to serve, I think finally you got to go back to talk to God and say, God, I hear this and I am feeling a stir, and I really want to commit to follow you, to obey you in what you are telling me now. I think that's going to be a sure foundation, and I think it's going to be a long-term foundation, because you're always hearing from God and you're always going back to rehear from God again and again what to do. The second advice would be, maybe that sounds like a challenge as well. What kind of a Christian do you want to be? You can be a faithful attendee. That means you're going to church every Sunday. Fine, nothing wrong with that. Or you want to be a serving Christian, a serving member. That means you decide to do something which I commonly call your time, talents, and your treasure. And the third thing would be, do you want to be a leading Christian? If God has put giftings in you to lead others, then seriously you want to reflect on that and say, hey, what do I really want to do with what God has given to me?
Yeah.
And I think that would be an advice I'm going to give to you. I mean, it's great to be a faithful attendee of the church, but I think God wants us to do, and because of our vision, because of our mission, I'd like to encourage you, finally, motivate yourself, mobilize yourself, serve together with us in building the church to build the vision.
Wow. So I think we can get here. It's so important to have some of these factors. And like for myself, I find also it's so important to have clarity on our assignment. What do we think God's call is, or mission or assignment that God gives to us? And that helps us. And I'm someone that I always want to be faithful, even excellent with whatever I do. So once I knew, or I have some reasonable clarity of what God wanted of me, I said, I'm going for it, the best I can.
Amen.
Well, thank you, Pastor Simon. It's been great to be inspired by your longevity, and also to hear from your wisdom, your experience in this whole area. So thank you once again. God bless all of you.